Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into the Lumberslayer and Friends podcast. We are fucking back. It's been a minute. Again. I don't know how many times we've done this, where we have long gaps in between, but we're back. Stronger than ever.
We have returned.
We have come back. We start every episode with a beer. Adam, what are we drinking today?
I found some cool looking treats.
These labels are dope as fuck.
Yeah, check out the Instagram, guys. So we'll throw them up there. But totally new to, I believe, both of us.
Yes.
Is this Nightmare Brewing. I was chatting with the bloke at Holiday Market. And I was just telling you the other day, I was really in the mood for Belgian beer. So that's what I went there for. Mm-hmm. And man, just slim pickings. I mean, kind of, your standard Belgian style stuff. You have your St. Bernardus there and Duvel and all that crap, but like nothing really intriguing and special and interesting. Meanwhile, these extremely brutal cans jumped out at me. And I mean, it's like, talk about Nightmare Brewing. It looks like a freaking bloodbath nightmare on these cans. Like, ridiculous.
I wish this was a band, and I wish this was the artwork for the band. Like, the Nightmare logo itself looks like a stylized band logo. And then you come with this brutal fucking artwork. Like, it's dope as shit.
Look at this guy's face.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like a horror movie.
Ripped apart. Oh, it's so fucking badass. These are so cool.
So we've got 3 to try, but we're going to start with this one called Flayed. Imperial Oat India Pale Ale.
I'm into it. Let's fucking do it. Oh, that sweet crack.
Ooh.
Smell good?
Very.
Dude, I can't say enough about this fucking artwork. It's so fucking cool.
Yeah, packaging and labels and all that stuff is so important. It's like we like to think, the beer speaks for itself, and in many ways it does. That's the end result. But at the same time, if this beer didn't have this label, I would have just glanced right past it with the rest of the stuff. You know what I mean?
For real.
That's the truth.
Hell yeah. Let's get a cheers to beer, sir.
Cheers.
Welcome back. Just about everything I've come to expect with an oat IPA.
Yeah.
You got that creaminess and smoothness. Little fruity. Really nice.
It's pretty solid. A lot of hops punching in the face there.
Fuck, that's good. It's rich. Rich and heavy. Like, that's a heavy drinking IPA.
Very soft in the mouthfeel. But also has a syrupy character to it.
Dude, I really, really like that. I really, really like that.
It's got a lot of punch to it.
It's goddamn tasty. Well done, sir.
So this says they go through one of those contract breweries. Brewed and packaged by Dorchester Brewing Company, Boston, Massachusetts, for Nightmare Brewing.
Dorchester is familiar. Oh, where do I know that from? Fuck. I got nothing, but I know that name.
Dorchester is like the most New England sounding town you could ever have.
Fuck. Whatever. It's a good ass beer. It's a great fucking label.
That's really good. Outstanding, actually.
It's really fucking cool. So, as per usual, we have excuses for our absence.
Well, in this case, very good, positive excuses.
Yes. So, we've done an episode since Adam got a new job. I have gotten a new job. And A Silence has recorded not one, but 2 music videos.
Oh, shit.
So we've been busy. Things have been going down. Major life events. I don't know if... I'm sure if we backed up and we did this a couple years ago, started a couple years before, we'd still run into the same kind of, like, major life bullshit happening. But, like,
I agree.
It just seems like everything's kind of surrounded the start of this. So, not good for consistencies, but good for us, I suppose.
It's been a lot of fun, and the people that we have talked to about the podcast and the friends that we've made due to this podcast, it's been very, very positive. So I'm thrilled to be back. Thrilled to be sitting across the table from you right now, drinking beer and about to talk about metal.
Aw.
It makes my day for sure.
Samesies.
We do have a couple of guests lined up for a few weeks from now, and then after that, we got to do our year wrap up. So, minimum after today, 2 more episodes for 2019, and then 2020 is going to be huge as well. So, looking forward to that. The holidays are going to be a good ass time.
Indeed.
Does your new employer, do you have a holiday shutdown? Like, do you get time off?
From Christmas Eve to January 2nd.
Dude, it's going to be so dope.
Yep. I'm excited. I'm going to talk about this off mic, but fuck it makes no difference. I propose that in January, when we're starting up the year, if we don't have anything cranking off the bat, which tends to happen, we redraft our 2016 top 10.
Ooh.
Because we've talked about that for a little bit.
Yeah.
2016 was... it was 2017 that was the down year. 2017.
17 was not as good, but...
Yeah, let's do the 2017. Let's redraft 2017 top 10.
It'll also be funny because there's a handful of things that I probably haven't listened to since then. So.
No, and we've learned a couple things and found some old bands that weren't on our radar at the time, and I think that'd be a good way to fill the time.
For sure.
So, but let's not talk about that. Let's talk about what we've been talking about all fucking year. The big release of Mayhem, Alcest, and Cloak.
That was October 25th, correct?
Yes. So we're backing up a little bit. A date that had been pencil marked on the calendar for months as probably the biggest day of the year in terms of anticipation.
It's huge.
So
no doubt there.
We got lots to say about lots of things. So
let me pose the question to get things started. Tell me about Mayhem.
Mayhem is one of your original true Norwegian black metal groups.
1984, if my research is true here.
That's probably accurate. So we're talking the proto black metal band a lot of people point to, if you're going like post Venom type stuff. Members have died, members have been murdered, it's been riddled in controversy. This is their 6th full length in a litany of demos and EPs and live albums. These guys live album more than fucking anybody I know. Except Pearl Jam. Pearl Jam live albums like fucking crazy.
Hey, that's not metal.
No, it's not. Off topic. Did you ever watch Lords of Chaos?
Is that one of the documentaries?
No, that was the theatrical like biopic that came out last year, or maybe it was earlier this year, about Mayhem.
No,
we need to watch that.
I need to watch that.
Controversial.
Let me jot it down.
Yeah.
Lords of Chaos.
Lords of Chaos. Not well received by the black metal community, particularly the bands that were there. Interested to see. Maybe we can rip it apart. It'll be fun. Macaulay Culkin's brother's in it.
Awesome.
So, there's that.
So, Mayhem's a band, for me, that I don't know. I'm not that familiar with their music, although Mayhem's always been around, as I've always been aware of Mayhem. And, spoilers, by listening to this album, I realized why they're not on my radar, and that's because it's quality all the way around, but it just doesn't grab me that much, and I'm gonna justify it all, but I have very minimal reactions to it because it's just black metal to me, and I fucking love black metal, but I don't love this album. We'll get more into it, but there's a reason. Given X amount of years I've been listening to metal, that nothing from Mayhem has stood out to me where I've really gone deep in gotten through their entire discography and become a fan. There's a reason that has happened.
Right on. I like Mayhem.
How many albums do you have?
All of them.
Oh, okay. Well, I should have known.
Why wouldn't I?
Should have checked the library first.
You should have explored. All the studio works as per the rules of the Lumberslayer album collection. None of the live stuff. So, none of the compilations.
Rules.
There are rules, ladies and gentlemen. There are rules. So let's jump into it. So, as alluded to earlier, this is the 6th full-length album from the original true Norwegian black metalers, Mayhem. Album entitled Daemon. We are going to start out with The Dying False King. And it is right away, no apologies, black metal right in your fucking face.
There's no intro. They just start.
There's nothing. It is just go and fuck you. Brutal as fuck. Want to address this right off the bat, what they did tremendously, and I've liked this combo in the past, and I'm going to praise it every single time, is the old school black metal guitar, lo-fi guitar over top of clean production drums and bass. I love that combination. This is particularly bass heavy, this record.
The bass presence is definitely there.
But immediately that kind of appeals to me. I really like that sound. So we get that brutal black going right off the bat. We slow down and we like, this is going to happen a lot on this record where there's the rhythm section just kind of handles things for a minute while the leads kind of take a little back seat. And then we go right back into black. And then we get like this funny operatic vocal that's going to happen again over the entire span of the album. Brutal fucking entry.
Absolutely.
So, there you go. Agenda Ignis?
Yep.
Okay. Again, full black metal assault. They do this a bunch where you just come right out of the gates and fucking punch you right in the fucking dick. Big catchy rhythm break. This is a motif throughout the record, and I can see where you could kind of get a little bit bored with this because they tend to have this similar structure that goes throughout where they'll hit you with the black and then let the rhythm section do their thing and then come back. Drums get a really great feature on this track. I really love the drums on this one. The guitars just kind of poke away at it with just little cut-ins. We go back to the big blast beat section. You get black evil vocals that stand out. Cool track.
Track number 3, Bad Blood.
Yes.
This was the first track that really got me going. The first two were sort of, they started and they were over. It was just black metal chaos. This one had a little bit more tempo changes to it, just sort of changing things up instead of just kind of bulldozing all the way through the track.
That's
really
fair.
Fast. It was probably my favorite one on the album, to be honest.
I can see that. You get like this whirling intro type thing, and then there's this grindy rock stuff that happens that is a nice texture after you've had like 2 non-stop black metal tracks. Killer solo on this one. Solo's making an appearance. And they close out by doing Mayhem stuff. There's a lot of them doing Mayhem stuff on this album.
Mayhem stuff.
Yeah. Malum?
Sure.
Malum. Slow start, moves to a rocker, closes slow and evil. Got a little blasty part towards the end. This is where we start getting into kind of repetition and stuff, and I can see where your opinion comes from. If you're not looking like, if you want evil as fuck black metal for almost an hour, this is the record for you.
Well, as you sort of mentioned, the bass has a real presence here. That's one of my problems with traditional black metal is the even the existence of the bass is minimal to almost nothing. Mm-hmm. That's not the case here. So it's a little bit more pleasing to the ear because it does have, what I call the pyramid of sound, where you do have that bottom heaviness. Mm-hmm. So it's well executed and well done. It's kind of lacking memorable moments for me. And we all know I'm a sucker for that. But there's some other good stuff that we listen to that supplies me with that. So
slowly roll. Don't get ahead of yourself. Falsified and hated. On the intro to this, the devil says hello.
Were there keys?
Yes.
In this track?
Yeah, I got keys sneak in right there at the bottom if you can read my chicken scratch. Yeah, there's a little bit of keys there. There's it starts blasty, it starts dragging out, and they drag some keys in there, and that was a nice little, hey, we're doing some stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting the keys. It was cool.
Is that Aeon or Eon?
I would probably say Aeon, but I could be wrong.
Aeon
Aeon Daemonium.
Thank you so much. That would not have come out of my face all well. Heavy Toms is scary intro type thing. It feels like we're in hell.
Yeah, super spooky.
Yeah. You get this like riding into battle things, and you do a slow outro.
That's like Bathory, right?
Yeah. Bathory
was, sort of the pioneers of black metal sound, but also this like Viking battle metal. That's definitely what that track made me think of.
Good pull. I like it.
And in fact, I want to say that I've seen like other like Viking metal bands use language like Aeon Daemonium in their lyrics and in their track titles and so forth.
Horrorless Abomination destroyed?
I think it's worthless, not horrorless.
Oh, hey. I can read.
Worthless Abominations destroyed.
Thank you. Thank you for Englishing for me. I need that.
It's what you want to do to your shitty neighbor.
Hey, there you go. I feel like there's a story there.
Those worthless abominations.
So we go back to that uncompromising black metal, and you get that opera vocal back. That's goofy. That I get what they're going for. It's a little bit corny.
It's just European. That's what many folks do. I know exactly what you mean.
Guitar goes really old school on this one. That fucking tone, dude. This feels like exactly what black metal in general would have gone to if it didn't have its moment in the 90s and then its niche in the 2000s. Like if it stayed kind of in focus and grew in popularity, I feel like this is where the majority of black metal would have gone and evolved into. And I think it's kind of exemplified on this track. Rocks at the end. When they go rock on stuff, it's fun, and we'll get into that with Cloak. But
don't get ahead of yourself.
Again, yeah, thank you. Demon Spawn. Obligatory track title. Sounds like we're casting spells with some like spoken wordy kind of stuff. Sweet choppy parts going into the second half. I like when they go choppy. Just break up the rhythm a little bit. Show some versatility. Not much to say on that one.
Of Worms and Ruins.
Yes.
I like the track title there.
Yeah, that's a fun one. Blasty in the beginning. Kind of moves back into the same old on this one. This was another one. Like we're getting a little bit redundant towards the end here.
Yeah, it looks like the running time I gotta have is 49:24. That's not too long for most projects. I find that's what I would call like kind of it's still in the sweet zone before you get too long. But there's just not enough change up. And again, what you're hearing is definitely quality, including the production. That's that's what I always say. The biggest problem I have with a lot of black metal is the production. But this sounds good. Everything's good about it. But there's just not enough diversity there to like keep my attention.
Fair enough. And then to the end, we're going to invoke the oath, which is what we do at the beginning and end of every podcast.
Indeed, the Knight's Oath.
That's right. And this is where we go back to that old school sound, and like you get that right off the bat, and that is the way I want to close out this record. So kudos to them on that. They do there's a weird thing where it fades out and then fades back in like 2 minutes into the song. Did you catch that?
I didn't catch that, no.
Yeah, go back and listen to it. Like 2 minutes in, the drums like are like faded down and then are brought back up. Like, it didn't feel like a dynamic change. It felt like a production dip and then bring back, and then they faded out again at the end. Kind of a lackluster ending.
Wonder what they were going for there.
I don't know. It was really fucking weird. But yeah, go back and listen to that track. It's fucking weird. It just kind of like dips a little bit and then comes right back up. Like they were trying to fake you out with a fade. I don't know. It was weird. Surprised you didn't catch that.
Psych.
Right. So overall, I think this is a fucking fun record. If you're looking for evil shit, I feel like Mayhem is like hitting their stride with this record. I really like it quite a bit. Controversial opinion that you and I are going to fight about. I think this is a better true to old school black metal album than the Dark Throne from earlier this year.
I'm not going to argue with you at all there. I know where my tastes are, and I like the Dark Throne album a lot more, but I'm not going to argue with what you said.
Okay.
True black metal, absolutely. In fact, they nail it. They do a very, very nice job with that. We've heard some very traditional style things in death thrash and now black this year. Executed pretty well too. But man, like the songwriting has to be there. The interesting moments have to be there. The pop during your chorus still needs to draw you in. Okay, I need some Backstreet Boys. I need some fucking like give me something that is like, oh, that's catchy, that's cool. You know, that's I think why Chuck Schuldiner is the legend that he is he brought those moments to death metal. Before that, you just sort of had, let's play as loud and as fast and as obnoxious as we can. Chuck wrote songs and had moments in his songs and in the music that he wrote that was like pleasing to the ear, memorable, catchy, headbanging, not just craziness for this tiny little group of people that are into this extreme thing. It opened it up a little bit more with interesting songwriting and 1,000 other things. But I think that's, for me, the influence of his music that you can hear in extreme metal across the board.
It's a valid opinion.
I'm obviously comparing apples and oranges here because this is black metal and from Norway and everything else, but I think the point still is valid. If you love the sound of black metal, this album knocks out of the park.
It really is.
I would take Mork over this album every day of the week.
I would too, but I really like this album. I think what this album does really, really well is it's a little bit bloated, but I think it gives a legendary band its due in terms of pageantry and production. I think it's getting the love that it deserves. I think I think this is a really, really nicely produced album. I really fucking love the way everything sits in it. It gives you the chaos and the darkness that you want out of it, and if you want an hour of fucking brutality, that's what you fucking get. So
when did you get so eloquent, man?
Oh,
pageantry and production?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Thank you.
Distinguished.
A gentleman.
Yeah, we should be drinking cognac or some shit. Fuck these beers.
We should.
Let me see that album. Really, really dope. Like, dude, they just nailed like the darkness. It's like a some sort of hellish fiend or something. But I love how it's dark. Like, you can't really even see it that clear because it's so dark.
Yeah, it is. You got to kind of look at it. And if you look at all it might just be the print of it too. Like, all the digital versions of the artwork, it's a little bit clearer. I mean, sometimes it doesn't translate on the print, but if that's what they were going for, they fucking nailed it too.
If you make a black metal album like this one, that's a perfect album cover. Like,
it's badass.
Spot on. It's great.
So there you go. It's a pickup for me.
I'm holding my hand. He definitely picked it up, guys.
Oh, fuck. Are we ready to do another beer, sir?
Another album, another beer. We got 3 albums and 3 beers, so that works out nicely.
Dude, for Black Metal Day, we couldn't ask for a better setup, beer-wise.
Indeed. Again, guys, go to the Instagram and check out these cans because
they're fucking
they're
badass.
sick. In fact, if you guys check it out, well, we won't post this till at least another 24 hours, but check out, I think after this I'm going to post to the story, which is only visible for 24 hours. But so that, like, I'll spin the can so that everyone can see exactly what it looks like.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty damn cool.
What are we going to next year?
Our next installment, again, brewed by Dorchester for Nightmare. God, this is some brutal shit.
It is. I kind of want to pull these labels and put them on something because they're dope.
Is that is it Windlass of Erasmus or is it Mindlass of Erasmus? Is it the Old English
That's a W.
font? Windlass of Erasmus. It's hard to read.
I can't believe you can't say that. I can always pronounce everything that we talk about.
Goza Ale with blackberries, black currant, and black sea salt.
Sounds black as fuck.
It's black metal is what it is. Let's do this shit.
God, I missed that pop.
Ooh, look at that.
Oh, it's red. It is red like blood.
I kind of think that might be what they were going for. Oh my god.
I kind of expected black with all the black in the black. And the black.
Oh my.
It's foamy. Are you pouring hard or is it just coming out that way?
It's pretty carbonated, more so than I was expecting, but I think that will do it some justice actually, because instead of tasting bubbles, we'll taste the beer.
Right on. Oh, let's get a nose on it. It smells like raspberry goza.
Yeah, I definitely get that sea salt, which is what you want in a goza. At least that's what I want.
It's salty. It's sour. The berry is complemented well.
Ooh.
I'm just going to say it, even though it's going to sound stupid. It's like a salty juice.
Yeah. It's funny, there's a slight sweetness from the berry that comes late.
Yeah, on the back end for sure. Yeah, so...
It's definitely salty, though.
Salty and sour. It's like if you separate it out of margarita. It's like getting that first lick of the salt on the margarita and then drinking back the sweetness. It's crazy.
Yeah, the blend of the berry and the currant. Wow, it's a lot of flavor.
What's nuts is how much they don't, like, stick together. Like, it's salty, then it's sweet. Like, there's no middle ground at all on it. Glad you caught that, too. It smells like hot piss, though.
Yeah.
Which is not pleasant.
When something smells salty, that's a little weird.
Yeah.
It looks gorgeous, I'll tell you that.
It does. It's pretty. Interesting. So far, winners. They're doing good.
So how do you feel about Atlanta, Georgia?
I love Atlanta, Georgia, and all the bands that Atlanta, Georgia produces.
The capital of the South.
Yes.
Am I right?
Yeah.
Well, that's where Cloak comes from.
Cloak is fucking fantastic, sir.
So I remember the day I was sitting in my basement trying to get work done, and here comes this text from Al. Hey, check out this To Venomous Depths by this Cloak band. And I'm like, all right. Tremendous.
And then the world changed.
Great fucking album. You and I were both fans immediately. That was a tremendous album. So the expectation obviously is pretty high.
Yes.
For their next installment, The Burning Dawn.
Yep.
So here we are. You and I very briefly exchanged our general feelings on it. I know it was, for the most part, pretty positive, but I'm really, really looking forward to your breakdown here because I want to know what stood out to you. You'll probably roll your eyes because I do nothing but repeat myself anymore. I have always associated Cloak's sound since that day in 2017 that I first heard that album with Tribulation.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't particularly sound similar, but they do a couple of things in a similar manner.
Yep.
And so that's why that association exists.
I think that's fair.
They give you a break from, especially on Venomous Depths, they give you a break from crazy distortion and brutality with a little bit lighter approach on the guitars, but they don't skimp on the brutal vocals. They still deliver you real, true, extreme metal in the vocal department, which I can really, really appreciate and I really, really dig hard. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Hell yeah. I like it. Good analysis. Good on you. So this is Cloak's second full length. They're a black and roll band. As Adam said, I fucking was stoked to find out that they were putting out another record. So
Black and roll, but with true hearty vocals.
yeah, I don't want to back them into a corner or anything, but it's black and roll.
It's funny though how the difference of that the vocals can have on how heavy it seems.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? And it's the same way with Tribulation.
Dig it. So we'll kick it off with March of the Adversary.
I mean, it's kind of silly to say because it's only, a minute and something. But, like, I fucking love that minute and a half or whatever it is. That's an awesome intro.
It's both haunting and pretty. Big accent hits on the drums. A nice little way to set up the album. And it builds right into the Cleansing Fire, which also has an intro on it, which I thought was a little bit redundant. But, I mean, it was a really cool fucking intro, so I'll allow it.
It allowed the haunted, creepy nature to kick this thing off. I really appreciated that intro track.
So it moves into like this groovy rocker, which is par for the course for Cloak. That's what you're going to get with Cloak, and it's fucking fantastic. We get some leady guitars. The drummer pulls out like every beat option you could possibly fucking go for. Gives this song a lot of fucking texture without getting it boring, because you can hold a rock beat the whole fucking song or thing for the song. Switches into like just like I said, about every standard drum beat option you could possibly fucking get for a standard rocker.
Wow,
so
I didn't realize there was that much.
There was.
Wow.
There was a lot of movement. Guitar has like some Blink 182-esque mini clean things, like tone wise and what it was like. There were interesting little snippets that kind of come in. So much fucking happens on this track. Like, they make I think the first one is like 4.5 minutes. They make it seem like it's fucking 10 minutes long with how much happens. So much goes on, and that happens throughout the fucking album. So again, showing your cards on the first track, not a bad way to go. That's how I would do it. So kudos to them.
The Cleansing Fire does a really good job establishing that they're sticking with what they gave you in 2017. They're not going to do this like crazy departure, like some bands attempted to do. They're going to stick with their sound and refine it. They're not going to like depart on some crazy adventure here.
A Voice in the Night. It's a badass black rocker right off the bat. Unlike the first one, they give you a shitload of time to bite into the riffs on this one. There's like two main riffs that they go back and forth with. to start out with. There's a nice little lead, and then it moves into this creepy little downplay that flows into an acoustic section, which we're going to come back to quite a bit. And then you move right back into a black rocker to end out with a dope lead. Great fucking track.
So, sort of reiterate, that acoustic section, I almost feel like it's perhaps the word choice is not the best, but there's almost like a lull in the bridge there. And it's not lacking, but it just mellows out in that section. And that's the recipe. That's the recipe they're bringing to the table here, because we see it in probably another 4 or 5 tracks. And I'll get into more what I think they're doing there, but what I think that recipe does for them is it allows them to establish patience. They're not in any sort of a rush to get you out the door.
Right.
Like they're like super chill. Like we're gonna give you some black and roll, but we're also gonna give you some really chill stuff that you can sort of chill out and vibe to and not bang your head all goddamn night long. It's pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
It's pretty cool.
Tempter's Call. Big black field start. Clean mellow section. Solo comes in and we go back to black, and then you have an acoustic outro. We're starting to fall into a formula here a little bit. Not the worst formula, but it is starting to fall into a formula.
You call it formula, I call it recipe. I thought the intro to that was real lyrical guitar, almost like you'd hear in melodic death metal.
Okay.
Not so much black. I mean, it turns into black metal. That's what they do. That's their brand. But I feel like the intro to that, the first 30 seconds, was like, man, that's, you'd get that from Death Clock or one of the Finnish mellow death outfits.
That's fair. Into the Storm. We get a blasty start, and I get Mayhem vibes. Like, there's 2 tracks on this album that I can go back, and they paired nicely in that last Mayhem album we were listening to, and I like it. We get more Grandpa's guitars as we move into the back half. Really soulful lead on this one. I thought there was a lot of purtiness in the guitar lead on this one. I liked it. I think it was probably my favorite one that they did.
I mean, I would almost call the closing part of this track classical guitar. Like the acoustic, it's beautiful. Very, very well done.
Lifeless Silence. Let's throw some piano in the mix. Really fucking pretty. Really like that. It kind of takes it like slow and swampy after that. This track sounds like the album art looks.
Okay.
That's the best way I can describe it. I think like this track matches up the best with the artwork. Picks up a little bit in the middle. It's a rocker.
I think Lifeless Silence is his most brutal vocal performance in the album. There's just an extra oomph to it where he's really extending himself. Like the amount of passion behind those vocals are very, very great. Really, really brutal.
I like it.
I would love to see him do that live.
Yeah.
I think it would be an extremely hard thing to do.
The Fire, the Faith,
The Void.
the Void. Slow and trudgy. Goes into a disco-y beat, and then kind of gets like a Western feel going towards it. Did you pick up that vibe at all?
Not the Western part. The disco, maybe a little bit. I think it's their slowest track, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so too, and it's instrumental. So it's a little bit of a departure, and probably in a good spot to do it too. As alluded to, we were getting a little bit formulaic here, so throwing that guy in the recipe wasn't really a bad thing. But definitely a different track, and probably the most different on the whole album. On Poisoned Ground?
I think my favorite.
It's a good choice. We go right back into the blackened rocker. So you had a little bit of a palate cleanser before, and now you're getting hit again.
Really driving rhythms here. So that the last one had kind of a few different tempos there.
Mm-hmm.
This one is like kind of your punch in the face. It's driving all the way through.
Stays creepy, and like this would be home on something darker. I think this was my other one that would fit good on the Mayhem record.
A couple actually tasteful key changes, which are always pleasing to the ear, at least for me.
And we're going to close out with Where the Horrors Thrive. Bass intro is super refreshing on this track.
It was good.
On what amounts to a pretty... Both of these records that we've spoken about are really lengthy, and like you're getting into a project when you listen to these records. So every moment that you have a change up is noteworthy and refreshing, and that little bit just was a nice kicker to get you through the rest of the track. So yeah.
Funny enough, I think that was the longest track on the album, that final one, and they still have the same recipe where there's that lull, that acoustic, real chill thing. And I love as I kind of mentioned before, the laid back nature that they give. Is they're not rushing.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just rushing through to the end. That's what it did for me. It slowed things down. They're not in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was added a layer of like maturity to their music. I think that To Venomous Depths was a little bit more catchy, which is also important. Any advice I ever give to a band is don't blow all your best riffs on one project. Space those bad boys out if you got them. Keep that away in a chest somewhere. But for the most part, awesome follow-up. Really, really strong album from Cloak.
I think in concert with Venomous Depths, Burning Dawn works really, really great. What you like about it, I think, could be slightly off-putting to other people. I feel like it moves a little bit slow, but like I fucking really like it. The only thing that my only criticism on it is I feel like they kind of show their cards a little bit too much right off the bat, and they give you everything that they can do, and then they kind of lock into giving you everything they can do on every track. And I would have specialized a little bit more myself, but I mean that's nitpicking. And overall, it's a great fucking follow up. It's easy to fall on your second record, and I think you nailed it with they showed a little bit more maturity on this one.
I think that this like new chill nature that they bring to the table here works for them too.
Yeah.
I don't see this being a problem if they want to do it again. You know what I mean? I think they pull it off. You know, if you go to a show and all you want to do is mosh, then those lulls are going to be not your cup of tea. Mm-hmm. But that's not what Cloak is. That's not the role that they're putting themselves into. Like they're maturing at a healthy rate here. I think like I said, I think it works for them. I'm picking it up.
It's a pickup. Can I get a jewel case? Can I please? Can you help a Lumberslayer out?
What label are they on?
Season of Mist. Season of Mist and $20 bin just constantly right up my asshole.
I think actually today Cloak finishes a tour with 1349 and Uada, which would have been a cool one to catch.
That's a nice combo.
They didn't come here though. Uada's newest one was fucking great. Their first one was everyone raved about that, and it wasn't my favorite, but their second album was freaking tremendous. That would have been awesome. The closest they came here was like St. Louis or something.
Ooh.
So it's like, come on.
Yeah, that's hard.
Good album.
Good album. You almost ready to do another beer, sir?
I was fucking born ready.
Oh my god. We're gonna do possibly I I can't say it's the most graphic, but it is the most bloody.
Yep, I'll give you most bloody. That is a severed head.
Fuck, these are cool, man. And there's so much to look at. We're going back to IPAs.
Yeah, you know what? Screw the Instagram story. We'll just do slides. We'll take multiple pictures of these.
Okay.
And we'll do slides on Instagram so people aren't... Because we're raving about this so much that we got to share it now.
They're too badass not to share. It's fucking cool.
This one. Blowing from a Gun. Double India Pale Ale. With Indian cane sugar. Quintuple dry hopped with El Dorado, Calypso, Cashmere, Mosaic, and whole melon hops.
That's a lot of Dunkin'.
Yeah. 10.5%. So this is going to be a beast.
Goddamn.
So I think that severed head was perhaps appropriate for what's going to happen to our palates here.
So, while we're pouring this out, let's keep with the Lumberslayer and Friends tradition of talking Star Wars. I haven't gotten to it yet because I haven't loaded up the Disney Plus yet, but what are your initials on Mandalorian?
My initials are, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
For a main trilogy story that is very, very lacking, it's a huge breath of fresh air for those who truly enjoy Star Wars. And I mean that just in really in a lot of ways, but without getting spoilers, especially since you haven't seen anything. They give you just enough because the episodes are relatively short.
Mm-hmm.
They give you just enough to keep it really interesting. And now, as I watched last night's episode 2, I have to wait a whole another week for another one. So, in a world where we're used to binging stuff, it's kind of fun because now I get to mull it over and watch reviews on YouTube for a week before figure out what's going to happen next. It's cool. It's the production's extremely quality. Obviously, you have producers and directors they're very, very capable in charge here. But that hasn't stopped Disney from fucking things up in the past, so that doesn't really mean much. I'm spewing bullshit here. So far, so good. I don't have too many complaints. There's minimal cheese, but it is Star Wars, so there's going to be a little bit of the cheese factor, and that's the thing that's always present. But for the most part, I like it. It's not over the top. It's been pretty good. I've talked to Rob about it a lot. He's probably the biggest fan I know. So,
has Chubb showed up yet?
Hell no. Let's try this fucking beer.
Cheers. Pow. Oh, that is completely fucking different. That is thick.
Quintuple dry hopped.
Whoo! It's dirty. And not funky. It's dirty. There's fruit in there, but it's hidden behind a wall of dirt.
Yeah, I know what you mean by the dirtiness. You know what's funny? Usually Galaxy hops gives me that dirty hop flavor.
It's not I'm not saying it's earthy. It's dirt. That's interesting.
It's bold, man.
It's very bold.
I think Nightmare Brewing passes the test, man.
Yeah.
This is good. This is good beer.
Delivering. I don't even know what to say about this beer. It's so... I don't know if I've had one like this. I can't even compare it to anything. It's heavy, it's thick, and it's...
Well, I'm not familiar with that hop variety I said that they listed last year. The whole melon.
Mm-hmm.
That's totally new to me. I've never heard that before. But there's definitely some melony fruit notes happening there. Maybe that's it.
It's bitter. It's real bitter. and not like a refreshing bitter. Not that it's bad, just like like a crisp IPA. It doesn't have that crisp.
No. You know what? Like if you eat something with a lot of butter, you have that film in your mouth.
Yeah,
I almost have that. I think
Okay.
that's the absurd amounts of dry hopping, where it's like the oils from the hop buds are like that abundant.
that's nuts. So with a flavorful beer, you need to pair it with a flavorful band.
Well, I'll tell you something. Well, I won't tell you something. I'll ask you something. Was there a more anticipated album than Alcest this year for you?
No. Simple answer. And pairing Alcest with Cloak was come on, man. Like,
Well, sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree. Today we're in agreement. There was not a bigger release for me this year. Alcest was the one. I mean, of all the stuff, we had. It was a huge year. It's been huge. We have Cattle Decapitation here in a couple weeks too, so there's that. That's another really, really big one. But man, for me, it was like, what's Nej gonna do for Alcest? What direction are we gonna go in here? This was the album that I was just praying to the God I don't believe in was going to be awesome. And so when that first single dropped, talk about a kid on Christmas. It was so fucking good. Different from Kodama.
yeah.
And it, anyone who's listened to multiple episodes of this, we drop Kodama all the time.
Constantly.
Any metalhead friend of mine who's never heard of Alcest, it's Kodama. It's a beautiful, beautiful album.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where the hype comes from, where the expectation is absurdly, probably unfairly high for what's going to come next. But like I said, when that single dropped for Protection, it was like super exciting because the new sound is so good, but it's also really exciting because it gave me confirmation that the next album wasn't going to suck. And that was huge.
Hell yeah. It's hard when your previous record was so fucking good. Two recent examples that come to mind are Behemoth and Baroness. Having to follow up to unbelievably killer records. And Behemoth, I think, followed up nicely. Not hitting par, but close enough, and they gave a nice variance to compensate for that. And Baroness for missing the mark, in my opinion, a little bit.
Well, you can go back and listen to our review of that, but not fixing things that should have been fixed.
Right.
It was a huge issue for them, I think.
So, going into Alcest, I really, 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 really didn't want to be let down. And let's just get right into it, sir.
Well, if you want beauty in your metal, there's just not a better go-to band. There just isn't, especially Kodama. This one, from the very get-go, established with the rhythm section and the bass and the drums having a lot more balls to it. It's a heavier album. It's a darker album. Which is never a bad thing on Lumberslayer and Friends.
Yeah. It is equally angsty and triumphant, which is a hard combination to pull off.
The eloquence is just spewing from you today, Al. Can't get over it.
So, I'm going to go ahead and try and bullshit this French. And, it's going to be good.
Well, your last name is Aubuchon, so
oui.
let's hear it.
I am French. Le Jardin du Minuit. Du Minuit?
The Midnight Gardens, for all you who don't habla.
Well done. All right. So we're going to go light on the vocals and guitar, and we're going to float that right over top of heavy toms and bass before jumping into the intro here. And you're going to hit a, like, post-black metal punch. Just a gorgeous fucking start to the album.
It's a wonderful track. I
way,
mean,
way to be Alcest.
truly, it's a great. It's like he probably wrote this song with the intention of like this is gonna kick off, like this is gonna be the opener, and it's beautiful.
As we usually do with albums that we're excited about. Let me backtrack real quick. Spiritual Instinct. This is the 6th full length from French black / post metalers. So, just so our bases are covered there. Going back to the track. Beautiful cleans over some chanting going on here. You still get a little bit of black screams. There's a nice groove section towards the false ending. And you feature the bass over like a pure black return with a post close. It's like a ballet of black metal.
This track ends with blast beats.
Yes.
It's crazy. It's like, oh, I forgot I was listening to metal here. Next thing you know, freaking awesome. Totally unexpected. The rhythm section has so much grit here. It's so much heavier. Whereas Kodama, you have these ultra beautiful guitar licks that sort of take you away into this. You know, Nej always talks about these like fantasy spiritual experiences he had as a child, and that's like his influence for the whole Alcest project. And it's, you know, it's a little weird. He's his own person. Yeah. But the music is beautiful. And then you have this new album that's, man, it's a change up, but it does nothing but add to that beauty for the heavier, darker stuff here. It's so cool.
Protection. So we had a little bit of time to sit with this track since it was released as a single. Started off choppy, leads to groovy riffs. Fucking beautiful stuff on this track. They cut in either some synth or some like really heavily pedal affected guitar. I can't tell which one it is, but either way, it's a nice little touch.
There's a few moments where I was a little bit unsure, kind of on what you're talking about throughout this album. Protection is it's the structure of this song is dead on perfect as you can be. It does everything in the correct spot. It builds tension. It resolves that before the end, and then it ends with an all-out beautiful closing. It's like this is the standout moment on the album, even though the whole album's pretty damn good. And it just does a beautiful job.
A rare instance where I would recommend pairing the video with the track itself. I think the video does it justice, and it's a nice combination. Give you some visuals with it. We move on to Sapphire. Big drums. Let the opening kind of breathe as you're letting the guitar do their riffing stuff. Riffs that would be at home on like a late 90s, early 2000s indie album. Like, if you isolated parts of the song, you would never know that like there was anything black metal about these guys at all.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But we're going to bring back some black metal vocals at the end just to remind you that, hey, we're still doing that.
So you want to play with some more French?
Oui.
So this was the other track that he came out with a single before the album dropped. And comically familiar intro beat that we talked about. Now, it sounds a little bit too close to the track from Kodama, Oiseaux de Proie,
Oui.
which means birds of prey. Trust me, listen to this track and then go back to Kodama and listen to Oiseaux de Proie, It's ridiculously similar. But if you take any hint from Kodama, it's never a bad thing. That's how good Kodama is. So, it's all good. But it was I laughed out loud at that. I was like, wow, that's the same intro to the fucking song, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, that little like 80s German tech underlay.
This track is super rhythm heavy. The Alcest lyrical guitar parts that are super chill and super fun to listen to, that's not the main focus here. It's really this sort of groove on the bass especially, and the drums second-handed.
This track is a better Tool album than Fear Inoculum. There is a lot of Tool in what's going on this track. Like a shitload.
I'm freaked out right now. I cannot believe you just said that. That was on my mind this entire fucking album. I'm not joking. It was on my mind this entire fucking album. I was like, man, like this rhythm, this whole new rhythm thing that they're doing here is like, that rhythm section, bass and drums. That's like I'm not gonna say it wasn't present on Kodama, but it's just way more up front here. Is Toolish for sure, especially on Protection, man. Crazy that you said that. I'm like so surprised right now.
Well, it fucking sounds like it. There's a little part towards the middle where like the guitar kind of teases you, like they're gonna go into a lead for a second, then opts to go into chants instead. That was a nice little like throw you a curveball move that I really, really like. And there's like two movements to this track, which is also pretty cool to, spread out. These are lengthy tracks on this album, so having that little breakup is nice. The second part opens up with a little delayed guitar with these little light tom hits, almost like percussive. Like it's something that you would hear on Fear Inoculum, but it's like done 1.5 billion times better. Oof. Yeah, I know. Well, sorry, Merlin.
Yeah, Merlin's going to be calling me crying later, man.
And then it powers back in. Dude, I like Alcest a lot.
You're not alone, man.
Le Mur.
L'Île des Morts.
Oui.
The Island of the Dead.
Ah.
So that mort's there, that's, comes from the same root word as mortal.
Right.
So, yeah.
Dark and heavy intro becomes soft and dark.
Yeah, so let's talk about this intro. So it's like electronic for a second.
Yeah, it's like a big, I thought it was going to go heavy, and then it was like, nope.
It sounds like electronic skipping almost.
And
I'm like, I'm not sure the intention there. It caught me off guard. I wasn't sure how to take that. It seemed out of place, but whatever.
It was interesting. We get some like church organ going in there.
It gets heavy quick though. Yeah. It doesn't take long.
It's we build in like it's a long build, and then they take it away from you.
It's a complicated track.
It is. Clean guitar closes it out, and like it's they have no obligation on this album to give you what you think you're gonna get, and they prove that constantly, and this track is no exception. And then we're gonna close out with the title track, which is like, not to oversimplify it, but it's just a nice fucking summary of what you've gotten throughout the whole record. I really don't have much on it other than it's what you've already heard put together in a nice little package with a bow to close out.
You know what he does several times throughout this album is he layers the cleans. So I think that he uses the blackened vocals a little bit more sparingly than Kodama. They were a little bit more present there. This album, you have more of these layered cleans. So I'm sure he took, recorded one track here, and layered them on top of each other. But But I at the end of the day, I take my takeaway is the same level of like being wowed in terms of beauty in metal. It's like a broken record, but that's what I go to Alcest for. For all of the brutality and the aggression, and being a purist at heart, I'm a true death metal fan. That's my bread and butter. I turn to Alcest when I still want metal, but I want some beauty. I want some melody. I want some guitar licks that I could listen to while putting my feet up and drinking a glass of wine. It's exactly what Alcest brings to the table, and it's exactly why Neige is one of my favorite people in metal. I think the world of this band, and I'm so relieved and happy that Spiritual Instinct is right up there with Kodama, because it's a great, great album.
It's a hell of a follow-up.
It's wonderful.
Daunting task to follow up Kodama, and I think absolute success. Big fan of this one. And I was able to get the Japanese copy of it, which comes in jewel case, so kudos to old Lumberslayer.
Booyah, Grandma.
Booyah, indeed. In an episode where we have 3 black metal albums to listen to, we get 3 completely different flavors of black metal. Like,
super, yeah.
It's hilarious that those all fit into the same genre, technically.
But, dude, that's why we love metal. That's why we love beer. The diversity in these things, it's stupendous. It's so stupendous, in fact, that you can have an entire podcast focused on it. Hey, now. Seriously, the difference between... Okay, so we had an Imperial Oat Pale Ale, right?
Uh-huh.
And a double IPA.
Yes.
Light years apart. I mean, they're like, are they both hoppy beers? Yes, without a doubt. Very hoppy beers. That's really the only thing they have in common, though. The flavors, the profile, the mouthfeel, everything about it. Very, very different. Both very, very good. You could say the same thing. Mayhem, Cloak, Alcest. Blackened metal in wildly diverse ways.
Yeah.
So you're looking at things that are worthy of being fussed over and discussed with your cousin. So, yes.
Fuck, I miss doing this, dude. It sucks when you gotta take this much time off. When we gotta take this much time off, I should say. I don't want to confuse people. It was not just you. It was me as well. Oh, feels good. It feels good to be back in the saddle.
Indeed it does, man. Indeed it does. I'm going to be super bold here. Russian Circles. They put out a tremendously good album. Now, obviously, all instrumental. But we were both big fans.
Yes.
Now, within the next 3 weeks or so, we'll probably be sitting down, getting serious, creating our list. Last year we did a top 15, which I think is probably going to be a mainstay for us. I think we both liked that.
I think that's fair. This year I cannot do a top 10. I can tell you that right now.
I like the 15 number. I mean, I'm still probably going to give shout outs to stuff that didn't make the list, but that'll be to the side for the most part. I think I can limit it to 15.
I think I could interchange a couple albums at 14 and 15 last year. I think it's going to be tough for me to get to 15 this year, or to keep it to 15 this year.
Anyway, my bold question is, Russian Circles, does Spiritual Instinct go higher for you than the new Russian Circles album?
Off the top of my head, no.
Whoa.
In fact, if I'm like without back-to-backing them, I don't want to back-to-back anything right now, and I've got a little bit of like distance on a couple albums too, so I don't want to.
Well,
my initial instinct is it's going to come in at number 4. I don't want to set that in stone, but I think it's going to come in at number 4.
If there are some surprises in December, that just makes it more interesting. So don't fret over it. I'm just curious because I don't know. There's something in the style that I compared these projects to each other. I'm not really sure why that is. But as I'm listening to this album from Alcest, I'm sort of thinking about how great that Russian Circles album was this year. And assuming they're both on my list, it'll be interesting to see where they're placed at. Because, you want to be... What's the word? You want to be fair...
Unbiased?
Unbiased. There's even another word. It's eluding me here. But, I want to be completely open to any... I just because I am a huge Alcest fan, and I love the project, I don't want to just boost it to the top of the list just because of that. I want it to... everything to be... objective. That's what the word I'm looking for. So I want everything to be objective and to be fairly laid out. So, man, it's gonna be a hell of a time. I had a blast last year when we went through the lists and got totally wasted sitting here in these same chairs. But that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, like oh fuck, this is gonna be so hard this year, dude. Like, the problem too is like it's been so concentrated with quality that like I keep forgetting about stuff. Not forgetting about it, but like I'll be like, oh yeah, it's these 5 albums I know for sure are heavy hitters, but then I'm like, oh wait, I totally forgot about fucking Gatecreeper because it just came out, and Crypt Sermon because it just came out, and I've had so long to like sit on certain things. Like Wretched Fate and Dreadnought have been sitting at the top of the list all fucking year, and those have been mainstays, and it's been hard to ignore them because I've had them in my head for so long that like the newer stuff, it's not that it's getting pushed to the back, it's just it's trying to fit it in the headroom that's fucking difficult. So when I sit down and line it all up, which I might take some time to do next week, I don't want to like write off anything that's going to come out over the next couple weeks either, but like it might be a good idea to get a jump on starting to retrack some stuff.
I'm looking forward to sitting down and re-listening, mapping things out, deciding where these things actually belong on a list. Don't forget, dude, Blood Red Throne's release was absolutely stunning. A whole bunch of good stuff. And we haven't even heard Cattle Decapitation yet.
Right.
So, fuck.
Oh my god, dude. Horseburner.
Oh yeah, you were huge into that.
Yeah, like this is gonna be hard. It's gonna be I think cracking 15, knocking it down to 15 is gonna be rough. There will be honorable mentions for absolute sure, but Jesus Christ, it's gonna be a challenge.
Super, it goes without saying, super strong year for, I think, most genres. Just on a personal note, for me, probably the strongest year in memory for black metal.
Absolutely, 100%.
So today reiterates that. 3 very good black metal albums, or blackened metal albums. But there's going to be a few in the top 5, and that's not a stretch at all, man.
It really isn't. What's crazy too is like I had a couple of more popular records in the top 15 last year, and I don't think there's gonna be much for that this year. Some indie stars really fucking came to play this year, so a lot of shout outs gonna go to those guys. I'm fucking stoked.
Well, for me too, with the life changes happening throughout this entire calendar year, way fewer opportunities to sit down and sift this year versus the previous 3 years. So the outcome of that is we still found some diamonds in the rough, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes me uncomfortable, the lack of time I've had to seek out indie stuff. First half of the year, I did okay.
Yeah.
We found a couple of good things, but I would like to have a lot more time So we'll see how it goes in the future with the new job and my son being his age. But regardless, we've listened to some very, very good music this year.
We did indeed, and I think I've got 2 albums that are going to pop into my top 15 that we didn't discuss. So
I have a couple as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we got some twists coming and some. It's going to be fun times. Ready to crank that out. So stick with us. We'll be pumping out at least 2 more before the year's over. Sorry for the gap. We'll work on it. On the Silence front, it's looking like we're going to be a late January, early February release for the EP. Check back with the Instagram for music videos. I'll be sending links and posting stuff, and stick around. It's going to be fun.
Consensus on Nightmare Brewing? Well done.
Yes. All around execution on flavor and style and can art.
So if my understanding is correct, Nightmare Brewing is in New York, but Dorchester, that contract brewery, they are in Boston. So
Right on.
it's cool though. I'm glad we tried something new. Very tasty stuff, and very intriguing labels, as we pointed out.
Hell yeah.
So our guest here in a couple weeks, it's basically going to be a metalhead throwdown, and it's going to be a really, really good time.
Hell yeah.
It'll bring new perspective to the show, which is super welcome. And if I'm not mistaken, it sounds like they'll be providing some beverages that are totally new to us as well.
Cool.
So that is very welcome too. So it's going to be a really, really good time.
We're going to double guest it for the first time in Lumberslayer and Friends history. I'm stoked.
There's so much conversation to be had.
There's so much room for activities.
Absolutely.
All right, sir. For this week's Lumberslayer and Friends podcast, I have been Alex Lumberslayer along with
Adam Friedman.
and we'll see you. Did you hear the low end hum?
Weird. I just want to make sure I'm not sounding like an idiot before we get started here.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da.
These labels are dope. Oy vey.